Elizabeth, a legendary Hollywood star on her journey from fame to obscurity. Elizabeth, once a beloved icon, receives her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In the first year, fans flock to her star, celebrating her as a beloved symbol of glamour and talent. But as time passes, so does the public's attention. People walk by her star without a second glance. The star, once bright and new, begins to crack, and nobody bothers to fix it. Elizabeth's fame is fading, just like the once immaculate star at her feet. As Elizabeth enters middle age, the allure that once drew people to her begins to wane. She struggles to find work and is eventually relegated to hosting an aerobics show, a far cry from the roles that made her famous. One day, while on set, she discovers that the women's bathroom is out of order. Reluctantly, she enters the men's restroom and overhears a conversation that will shake her to her core. The network president, Harvey, unaware of her presence, speaks openly about her age and insists that the show needs someone fresh and young. Elizabeth listens in silence, crushed as she realizes how the industry views her now. After Harvey leaves, Elizabeth faces herself in the mirror, grappling with the harsh truth. Later, at lunch, Harvey finally fires her, but in a way that is anything but direct. He can't even muster the courage to be honest with her. Devastated, Elizabeth leaves, only to see her own billboard being torn down as she drives away. In her shock and distraction, she's hit by another car, leading to a serious crash. In the hospital, Elizabeth is told she miraculously escaped without a single scratch. However, the doctor wishes her a happy birthday, which unexpectedly triggers a breakdown. After the doctor leaves, a nurse comes in and performs a peculiar examination, taking special interest in her spine and remarking that she's a perfect candidate. When Elizabeth leaves, she finds a package tucked into her jacket pocket. Inside, there's a flash drive labeled The Substance, along with a phone number and a note claiming it changed the sender's life. On her way home, she's approached by an old school friend, Fred, who compliments her on how beautiful she still looks. They exchange numbers, but Elizabeth is too consumed by the strange events of the day. That night, curiosity gets the better of her, and she watches the contents of the flash drive. It contains an ad for The Substance, a mysterious product that promises to let users experience life as a younger version of themselves. Skeptical, Elizabeth dismisses it as a scam and throws the flash drive in the trash. She heads to a bar, attempting to drink away her sorrows, but quickly realizes that she can no longer handle alcohol the way she once did. Back at home, she lashes out at a framed poster of her younger self, and in a moment of frustration, retrieves the discarded flash drive. The allure of reclaiming her youth proves too tempting. She calls the number and, after giving her address, receives one in return before the mysterious voice abruptly hangs up. The next day, Elizabeth wakes to find a casting call ad in the newspaper seeking the next Elizabeth for a new show. Her heart sinks as she sees her legacy slipping away. Just then, a black envelope arrives in her mailbox containing a card with the number 503. She follows the directions given over the phone to a hidden location, entering a shadowy alley and eventually finding herself in a room filled with deposit boxes. There, in box 503, she discovers a package containing a kit labeled The Substance. Returning home, she unpacks the kit to find various tools, vials, and food packets. The instructions are simple yet cryptic. Activate once, stabilize daily, switch every 7 days, and remember that she is one. She studies her aging face in the mirror, the image of a woman past her prime, and makes the fateful decision. With a trembling hand, she injects herself with the green liquid. Initially, there's no change, but soon a searing pain courses through her body and she collapses. When Elizabeth rises, she finds herself transformed. In the mirror, she sees a reflection of her younger self staring back with vibrant blue eyes that seem to mask the green ones she's always known. Her heart races as she realizes that her old self is lying on the bathroom floor, eerily still. She has become two people, one old, one young. The rise and fall of Elizabeth have culminated in this moment of rebirth. But at what cost? As Elizabeth stands there, caught between exhilaration and terror, she glimpses the possibilities ahead. She is ready to reclaim the life that had once slipped away. But this time, she's armed with a new body and a second chance. Elizabeth, now living in the body of her younger self, quickly adapts to this new identity, which she names Sue. With her youthful appearance restored, she steps out into the world and finds herself reveling in the freedom that comes with being unknown. She's no longer Elizabeth, the fading star. As Sue, she is a fresh face, free from the burdens of a once celebrated, now forgotten fame. Determined to make the most of this second chance, Sue decides to re-enter the industry. She auditions for the very show seeking the next Elizabeth and finds herself facing a room full of young hopefuls, all vying to capture the essence of her former self. The irony is not lost on her, and she smirks as she delivers a spot-on rendition of her younger self, channeling every ounce of Elizabeth's charm and magnetism. Her performance is electric, and the casting directors are captivated. They offer her the role almost immediately, praising her for her uncanny resemblance to the Elizabeth they all remember. As Sue begins filming, she discovers that playing a version of herself offers a surreal blend of nostalgia and detachment. It's as if she's witnessing her past through a stranger's eyes. Her days are filled with rehearsals, scenes, and endless retakes, but she thrives on the set. She feels alive again, the rush of the spotlight coursing through her veins. During a break, Sue crosses paths with Fred, her old friend who is unaware that Sue and Elizabeth are the same person. Fred is charmed by Sue's energy and wit, and they quickly hit it off. As they spend time together, Sue feels drawn to him in a way she hadn't anticipated. She realizes that Fred sees her for who she is now, not who she once was. The connection they share feels genuine and unaffected by her past fame. For the first time in years, she feels understood and valued for who she is, not for her Hollywood legacy. As Sue continues to live her double life, the 7-day switch begins to take its toll. Every week she returns to her old body, waking up disoriented and weakened. Each transformation feels more taxing, as if her original self is resisting the change. But despite the toll it takes, Sue can't bring herself to stop. The allure of youth and freedom is too powerful, and the old Elizabeth feels more like a burden with each passing day. One night, as Sue transforms back into Elizabeth, she finds herself staring at her aging reflection with a sense of dread. Her original self, once a symbol of beauty and success, now feels like a ghost haunting her from the past. It's then that she realizes the danger of the path she's on. The line between her two identities is blurring, and the more time she spends as Sue, the more she loses touch with who Elizabeth really was. The transformation, once exhilarating, is now a source of confusion and inner conflict. Despite her misgivings, Sue decides to continue with her new life. She grows bolder, pushing the boundaries of her youthful disguise, testing just how far she can go. She becomes increasingly reckless, distancing herself from anyone who might uncover her secret. The old Elizabeth, once a public figure, now lives in the shadows, a mere shell she sheds every 7 days. As her relationship with Fred deepens, Sue finds herself longing for a life that could never have existed as Elizabeth. She contemplates abandoning her old self entirely, leaving behind the past and embracing her new identity fully. But the price of this freedom is steep. The more she distances herself from Elizabeth, the more she feels the weight of the deception. Her mind, once clear and focused, is now clouded with doubts and fears. One evening, Fred confronts Sue about her sudden disappearances. As the weeks pass, the transformation process takes an increasingly severe toll on Elizabeth. The magic that once thrilled her now feels like a curse. Each switch back to her old self is more painful and disorienting, as if her body is rebelling against the constant changes. She starts to notice strange side effects. Her skin itches, her muscles ache, and her senses fluctuate wildly. She feels trapped, her two identities locked in a violent tug-of-war. She begins to lose track of who she really is. The once clear boundaries between Elizabeth and Sue start to blur. She can no longer distinguish between the thoughts and memories of her two selves. One day, she catches a glimpse of her reflection in a mirror and is horrified to see a distorted fusion of Elizabeth and Sue staring back. It's as if she's looking at a stranger, a grotesque hybrid of her old and new selves. She's becoming something monstrous, and it terrifies her. In a moment of desperation, she confronts the mysterious figure who had granted her the power to switch between bodies. She demands answers, pleading for a way to end the transformation and escape the nightmare her life has become. The figure, however, only offers a cryptic response. You wanted a second chance, but every wish has a price. Elizabeth realizes that this transformation was never meant to bring her happiness. She had been so blinded by her desire for youth and fame that she never considered the consequences. The strain of living as two different people becomes unbearable. Elizabeth starts to experience intense hallucinations, seeing flashes of herself as a twisted, monstrous version of Sue, a being she dubs Elisa Sue. This creature is a horrifying blend of her two identities with features that are both familiar and alien. Its eyes are hollow, its face a grotesque mix of youthful beauty and decayed age. It's as if her worst fears have taken on a physical form, a reflection of the monster she feels she has become. As the line between reality and hallucination blurs, Elizabeth feels herself losing control. She becomes increasingly erratic, lashing out at those around her. Her once charming demeanor is replaced by an unpredictable, almost feral aggression. She pushes Fred away, terrified that he might see the monster lurking beneath her surface. The isolation only deepens her despair, and she spirals further into madness. In a final act of desperation, Elizabeth tries to stop the transformations altogether. She locks herself away, refusing to sleep in the hopes that she can somehow prevent the switch. But the pull of the transformation is too strong, and her body forces her back into Sue's form. When she awakens, she finds herself completely transformed into Elisa Sue. Her reflection is no longer human, but a twisted, monstrous version of both her identities, fused together in a horrifying parody of beauty and decay. Elizabeth, now fully transformed into Elisa Sue, is consumed by rage and despair. She lashes out at everyone she encounters, her mind fractured and broken. The monster within her takes over, and she becomes a being of pure fury, driven by a desperate need to escape the prison of her own making. She rampages through her former life, leaving destruction in her wake. Her once glamorous existence is reduced to ruins, a haunting reminder of the price she paid for a second chance. In the end, Elizabeth's struggle against the transformation proves futile. She realizes that she has become the very thing she feared, a monster, trapped between two worlds, with no hope of redemption. As Elisa Sue, she is neither Elizabeth nor Sue, but a hollow shell of both, a creature born from her own misguided desires. With nothing left to lose, Elisa Sue retreats into the shadows, leaving behind the wreckage of her former life. She becomes a ghost, a cautionary tale whispered among those who once knew her. The monster she has become is a reminder of the dangers of tampering with forces beyond comprehension, a warning of the price one pays for trying to cheat fate. Elisa Su fades into obscurity, a tragic figure lost in the annals of forgotten fame. The world moves on, and her story becomes nothing more than a myth. A legend of a woman who dared to defy the natural order and paid the ultimate price. The transformation is complete, and there is no going back. She is Elisa Su now, forever caught between the beauty she once had and the monster she has become.